Tat Sat. I join Megji in welcoming our distinguished panelists and attendees who have joined us online this morning for the symposium on Vyākaraṇa as a meta-discipline of Indic thought, presented by the Indica Center for Bharatiya Languages. The symposium has begun with a tribute to the early scholars of Vyākaraṇa and to the monumental work of Panini. The essential guide to the Ashtadhyayi of Panini, the Mahabhashya of Patanjali, which is monumental in its own right, opens with Atha Shabdanushāsanam, now the discipline of words. As a discipline of words, Vyākaraṇa has been more than just one among the numerous classical Indian disciplines. Vyākaraṇa has been called a meta-discipline of Indic thought in the name of the symposium. One inspiration to call Vyākaraṇa a meta-discipline is the contrast between Vyākaraṇa and what is called grammar in modern schooling. While learning any Indic language, say Marathi, especially as a second language in school, it's common to hear students say we managed to pass the school subject without ever becoming fluent, just by scoring well in the grammar section by mechanically applying rules. Such a disconnect between the mechanics of grammar and meaningful expression is not what we observe in the Vyākaraṇa tradition. We instead observe the most flourishing connections. The Ashtadhyayi of Panini is an exquisite marvel of systematization of rules. And this became a secure foundation and a launching pad for Vyākaraṇa to embrace the full variety of human expression, rather than become an impediment. If the Ashtadhyayi is a practical manual for the discipline of words, the Vakyapadiya of Bhartrhari is its theoretical complement, dealing with questions like how meaning relates to words and how a stable meaning is sustained and recognized amid endless diversity in utterances. A misconception that is prevalent about Indian knowledge systems, including Indian mathematics, is that ancient Indians somehow obtained interesting results and were adept at algorithmic manipulations, but did not develop deeper theoretical foundations. Modern scholarship is only beginning to acknowledge what was always a traditional understanding of the intimate relation between the technology of language in the Ashtadhyayi and the philosophy of language in the Vakyapadiya. This is thanks to scholarly work like that of our own Professor Nagaraj Paturiji, whom we will have the pleasure of hearing later in this session. The disconnect between grammar and live expression in modern schooling is something we can also see in how poetry is assumed to have a very uneasy relationship with grammar. In the Indic tradition, though, there is no sign of unease or incompatibility in the relation between Kavya and Vyākaraṇa. In the vast corpus of Sanskrit poetry, from the epics to spontaneous verses composed during Sahityavadhana gatherings today, the deepest and loftiest emotions are given expression with barely any lapse from the metrical order of Chandas and the discipline of Vyākaraṇa. Even a treatise on poetics, like the Sringara Prakasha of Bhojadeva Paramara, has sections devoted to a review of grammar. Vyākaraṇa is therefore not a standalone discipline of syntax, but truly a meta-discipline with linguistics and semantics and poetics in its scope. Today, we look forward to hearing from Dr. Sharda Narayananji how there is no flight from grammar in Sanskrit poetry, but the light of Vyākaraṇa shines throughout. The modern-day distancing of the sacred from the everyday is also not seen in the origins of Vyākaraṇa, whose scope includes both laukika or real-world everyday use of language, as well as the proper study of words constituting the sacred Veda. After all, Vyākaraṇa in its origins is close to the revelation of the Veda itself, and in purpose is intended to serve the living Veda as a living organ, as a Vedanga. In Vyākaraṇa, we thus see continuity after continuity, like the continuity from the formal discipline of words to freely spoken language, the continuity from syntax to poetry, and the continuity from the Laukika to the Vaidika. What is it in the textual foundations that endows Vyākaraṇa with this character of a meta-discipline is what we look forward to hearing from Dr. Soumya Krishnapur ji today, from the perspective of an educator of Vyākaraṇa as both a pure and applied science. Another inspiration to call Vyākaraṇa a meta-discipline is how the approaches of Vyākaraṇa can be seen operating underneath all of Shastra literature. In the discourse on Shastra studies, a frequently quoted saying is Kanadam Paniniyam cha Sarva Shastropakaragam. Every discipline in the Indian knowledge systems, be it in the natural sciences or social sciences or arts, is said to have a Paniniya foundation, that is, Vyākaraṇa as a foundation, simultaneously along with a Kanada foundation, which is logic as formulated in the Nyaya system. All textual study is said to require investigation and understanding at three levels of pada or words, vakya or statements, and pramana or proof, which are respectively the subject matter of Vyākaraṇa, Mimamsa and Nyaya Shastras. We have the immense privilege today of hearing from Mahamahopadhyaya Professor Kurada Subramaniam ji on this triple foundation and the literature it supports in his lecture titled Vyākaraṇa vis-a-vis Nyaya, Mimamsa and Sahitya Shastras. The framework of Vyākaraṇa pervasively underpins the Shastras in the basic sutra formulation itself and in the use of Vyākaraṇa as an interpretive tool by commentators and expositors. And this includes not just the earliest Bhashyakaras and Vartikakaras and Tikakaras, but also the scholars participating in Vakyartha sessions today. The Ashtadhyayi of Panini remains the abiding gold standard of the sutra format itself, that is ubiquitous in Shastra literature, be it geometry in the Shulva Sutra or the foundational sutra texts of the Shat Darshana schools, Nyaya Sutra, Brahma Sutra, and Yoga Sutra. To this day, a scholar participating in a Vakyartha Goshti as a specialist in Nyaya or a specialist in Yoga cannot afford to leave Vyākaraṇa behind while entering the arena. In the lecture by Dr. Jairaman Mahadevan ji today, we will see illustrations from Yoga Shastra on the rewards of diligence in Vyākaraṇa, both in Yoga Darshana for scholars and Yoga Sadhana for practitioners, and also hear about the risks of neglecting Vyākaraṇa. Now, if Vyākaraṇa was a shared platform for so many branches of learning, how readily could aspiring learners access this platform? Like proprietary tools today with their varieties of licensing and paywalls, what about the barriers to accessing the tools of Vyākaraṇa? These questions will be addressed today in the talk by Satyan Sharma ji, who will explore clues from Dharmashastra, Itihasa, and historical records on the accessibility of Vyākaraṇa across social classes. So in summary, Vyākaraṇa has through the ages been the archetypal scholastic endeavor, supplying a template for Shastras to develop their formalisms and supplying a basis of intelligibility for Kavya to then expand the scope of expression. This symposium proceeds to an emphasis on Vyākaraṇa as applied in other Shastras and Kavya. After an analysis of some key texts considered pivotal to the study of Vyākaraṇa as a meta-discipline.